Hey. Today I'm going to show you how I help my client generate $13,500 in 14 days using the Wi-Fi and CAPTOQ webinar frameworks without spending a single cent on ads. In this case study, I'm going to show you why most webinars fail and how to ensure yours is a success with the Wi-Fi and CAPTOQ frameworks, how to promote webinars and get maximum registrants and attendees for free, and how to convert the attendees to sales. And throughout the case study, I'm going to share with you screenshots and stats that show exactly what we did for our client. So here's a bit about me. I'm Mitre Imaneni. I live in Paris, France, from where I run two companies, Uncamouflage and Social Marketing Writing. Uncamouflage is my marketing agency through which we help businesses with their email marketing, building funnels, social media management, and ads. I've been doing this for 14 years. I work with coaches, consultants, service providers, course creators, and SaaS companies. I've worked with AppSumo, Hostinger, Crazy Egg, and Deposit Photos. Here are a couple of testimonials from my clients. So who is this case study for? This case study is for course creators, coaches, consultants, and service providers. It's perfect for you if you're selling a product that costs $500 or more and want to use a webinar to promote courses, coaching, or services, and you're looking to implement both organic and paid marketing methods. This case study mostly is about using organic methods, but I go a bit into paid marketing methods too, which work very well for promoting webinars. Who is this not for? Selling low ticket products. If your product costs less than $100, then it's not worth it to use a webinar funnel. There are much simpler funnels that you can use to sell a product that costs less than $100 and you have no social proof. I recommend that before you begin selling a high ticket product, you have some social proof, because people are more likely to turn you down if you don't have any social proof. So having at least one or two case studies or testimonials can help you get the most out of a webinar and a webinar funnel. So here are a few details about my client. He's mostly a service provider and he does done-for-you services for his clients, and he gets most of his clients through word of mouth and through social media. He has a good offer for that, but sometimes when clients can't afford his services, they would take him up for his coaching, but he didn't have a clear offer for his coaching and he was struggling with that. So he hired me to help him promote his coaching program. He also wanted to launch a group coaching program and courses to service more people at the same time. Before hiring me, he actually hired another agency and got no result. This agency charged him $27,500 and got him zero sales. They created an offer and put that offer on a sales page and directly promoted it with ads. And then they spent $900 on ads and got him zero clients. I think that was a bad way to go about it, because when you're selling a high ticket product that costs more than $1,000, it's better to nurture your prospects with some type of content before you sell to them. This could be a VSL combined with a sales call or a webinar or at least an ebook, but they didn't do any of that. So I think the approach they used was wrong. Also, the offer they created was very generic. That's another reason why it failed. And even the ads they used were very bad. The messaging, positioning, and awareness level were all off. The ad writing and creative was so bad. I mean, I think even if they used AI, it would have done a better job. So I have no idea what they did with those ads. That's one of the reasons why the ads failed. When I got on a call with this client, one of the first things I asked him was if he already has any assets. So what I found out was that he had 12,000 followers across Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, 340 email subscribers, but the open rate was low at just 9 to 15%. This was a bad open rate, but still he had something. Another thing I found out was that he has a Facebook group with 420 members. I like it when clients have assets like this, as it gives us a warm audience to promote our offer to and quickly validate it before we start serving it to a cold audience with ads. These assets would give me something to start with. So here's how we decided to help this client. The first thing I wanted to do was create a unique, irresistible offer. What I found out was that one of the reasons why the offers he created and the offers his previous agency created failed, because they created very generic offers. One of the issues businesses are facing right now is the sophistication in the market. Right now, there are a lot of people with no experience that are creating coaching programs and courses and selling them. And they're able to do this because of AI. It's very easy to fake expertise. So what happens is people buy these coaching programs and courses, and because the person they bought it from has no experience in helping their clients, they give them really bad results. So prospects lose trust. And because people have these bad experiences, the market starts becoming more skeptical and sophisticated, that they stop trusting the other offers out there. So if you want to generate sales, your offer needs to be that much better. We need to show that we have a unique solution that no one else is offering, that they can only get from us. So that's what I did. I dove into the past conversations my client had with his past clients and prospects, and I did some research of my own and found out what the pain points people are having and the type of solutions they're looking for. And I created a unique, irresistible offer for my client. And I brainstormed 5 unique angles to promote it with. And then I set up a webinar using our Wi-Fi and CAPTOQ frameworks. I'm going to go into more detail about these 2 frameworks later. We chose webinars because they're very good for promoting high-ticket products that cost more than $500. They work really well with courses, coaching programs, and services. And you can promote webinars either organically or with ads. I've used both methods and I've had great results with them. But you have to do them right. The way you structure the entire webinar and the live presentation itself has to be perfect. That's why we follow our Wi-Fi and CAPTOQ frameworks, because we've perfected them and we've repeatedly used them for our clients and for our own businesses. And I decided that the best way to promote the webinar is organically to his social media followers, email subscribers, and Facebook group members. This can help us validate the offer and the webinar before we promote it with ads. Why most webinars fail? Most webinars fail because people, when they think of webinars, they just think of the video presentation. Their entire focus is to do this live or a recorded video presentation, and they don't think about what's going to happen before or after the webinar. They're not taking a holistic picture of webinars, so they end up failing at them. However, if you want success with your webinars, you need to follow a proper framework like our Wi-Fi webinar framework. The full form of Wi-Fi is win, influence, follow-up, iterate. The win is the first part. This is where we're capturing attendees for our webinar, and we're nurturing them, warming them up, and influencing them even before they get on the webinar. First, we have a squeeze page where people can sign up. We don't use any fancy squeeze pages. We just create a simple squeeze page with the name and the email address and a bit of information about what we cover in the webinar and a few details about the presenter. And once they sign up, they're sent to a thank you page, where what we do is we get them to sign up to our Facebook group. We have a button where it says you can join our Facebook group. In this case, we use the Facebook group the client already has. We do this because we can warm up and influence the audience in our Facebook group before the webinar starts. Another way we do it is through emails. We send them a series of emails. And the next thing is we use the CAPTOQ framework to influence people on the live presentation. I'm going to go into detail about the CAPTOQ framework a bit later. And then after the live presentation, we have a follow-up where we serve them with the recording, and we also send them more emails asking them to watch the recording and to buy our product or service. And then we have the iterate phase where we use the data from all of this to improve our webinar. We haven't gone to this stage with this client yet so far, but this is something we're going to work on in the future. After we set up the squeeze page, we promoted it through social media and email, and we managed to get 61 subscribers. As you can see in the screenshot from the email service provider, it's actually less than 61 because I signed up with a couple of my email address to test things out, and a few people signed up after the webinar ended. So we got around 55 to 57 people to sign up. We sent 5 emails to his list to promote the webinar. And as I mentioned, the open rate was low. It was on only around 10 to 15% because there are some issues with his domain and his email list, which is something we're working on now. We did 2 kinds of emails. In some, we just provided the link and said, hey, go sign up here. The other types of posts were hand raiser posts where people had to reply back to us to let us know they're interested, and then we send them the link. We use this hand raiser technique because when you include links in emails, it can lower your deliverability. So by asking people to reply to us and not sharing a link in the webinar, we were able to increase the deliverability for some of the emails. And we published over 20 social media posts. These included image posts, text posts, and videos. And we included a link in the comments, or we asked people to comment on the posts. And then we DM them details about the squeeze page where they could sign up for the webinar. We prefer the post where they have to comment, because when more people comment, it improves the reach of your post and their friends see it, and it can go viral, and you can get more people to sign up for your webinars that way. In some of these posts and emails, we were just like, hey, here's the webinar, go sign up if you don't want to miss out. And in some emails, we were a bit more indirect, where we shared a tip and said, if you want more tips on this topic, sign up for our webinar. And through our efforts, 136 people visited the squeeze page. 45% of people signed up, which was 61 people. To everyone who signed up, we sent 5 pre-webinar emails. In these 5 emails, we shared reminders about the webinar. We told them, hey, make sure you set aside time for this webinar, add it to your calendar. And we would share the link to the calendar so people can easily reserve a time for it. We'll also ask them questions in the email to see if they wanted us to cover anything specific. And we also shared a lot of content to help build trust and engagement and get them to like our client more. And we shared a version of the email in the Facebook group, so because some people prefer reading content on Facebook than on email. And it was also a nice way to re-engage his Facebook group. By the way, if you want templates for promoting your webinar with email and social media, and also the pre-webinar email templates, comment I'm interested below this video and I will send them to you. No need to sign up for anything. I'll directly send them to you. They're copy and paste templates. Then came their time to present the webinar. One of the biggest mistakes people make about presenting live webinars is how they present it. They tend to focus on the content part of the webinar. They treat it as this information dump where they need to share as much information as possible and sell as little as possible. They want to put the best content out there that no one else is putting. They do this because they think that people will be more interested in buying their product later because they were so generous with information. But what they don't realize is that they're overwhelming their viewers with too much information. When people get so much information, they take notes and they think, wow, I have so much information now. I need to implement all this new stuff I learned before I buy your product. So they postpone their buying decision. As a result, the webinar might do well in terms of engagement, but it generates very few sales. When instead you need to treat your webinar like a VSL sales page or any other sales material. You need to strategically structure every component to generate maximum sales. And we do this with the CAPTOQ framework. CAPTOQ stands for Capture Attention, Attacher, Present, Transition, Offer, and Q&A. Have you ever been on a webinar? They tell you to come at this time and you come at this time and they're a bit like, we just started the webinar, but enough people are not here. Could you please just wait 5 minutes while we wait for more people to join? They're just giving some time for people to come in. And that's a really bad way to start the webinar. So instead, what we like to do in the first 5 minutes, we like to capture attention, where we start to engage with all the attendees. And the easiest way we do this is we ask them where they're joining us from. For example, if I were presenting, I would go something like, hey, where are you joining us from? Type it in the comments. I'll go first. I'm joining you from Paris, France. And then people start posting where they're from and you start engaging back with them. And what this does is it helps you capture their attention quickly, especially when you start engaging back. If they say something like, I'm joining you from Munich, Germany, then you'll be like, oh, you're in Munich. Are you a fan of Bayern Munich? And then someone else says, I'm joining you from Berkeley, California. And then you're a bit like, I was there recently and I had a great time. I'm thinking about visiting again. What would you say is the best time to visit Berkeley? And then they start responding. So, and then because you're communicating with them, more people get encouraged to comment. And this helps you build a stronger relationship with them before the webinar even starts. Now they're glued to the screen because they're having a two-way conversation with you. Unlike someone who just says, wait for 5 minutes before we start. What happens with this is people start zoning out. They start looking for distractions on their phone, or they go and they might find something more interesting than your webinar and they give up. But if you do this and interact with them, they're more likely to spend more time watching your webinar. We just do this for 5 minutes. And then another thing we like to do is we call it the attacher. What we do is, hey, we've got a free gift for you. We're going to share more details about it later in the webinar. So make sure you stay till the end so that you can learn all about it. So now more people want to stay till the end to learn about it. And the presentation lasts just 25 to 30 minutes. We don't want to overshare. We want to share the right amount. There's also a specific way we structure the presentation part. And the next thing is the transition part. You probably have been on webinars where you've noticed, or even if you presented a webinar, you might have noticed that when you transition from the content presentation to the offer, you feel a bit awkward. If you've watched other people present it, you'll actually notice that they feel a bit awkward if they're not a natural salesperson. That's why we have a transition section. It's a technique we use where it helps you naturally flow from the presentation section to the offer section, and getting this transition right is extremely important. And then comes the offer. We have a special structure for the offer too. Just like we write a sales page, all the elements need to fit in properly together. When you get in the offer section, you need to present it properly to generate maximum sales. We like to make sure that this is at least 15 minutes long. We want you to be as detailed as possible. And then finally, we have the Q&A section where people ask us questions about the presentation or the offer. And that gives our client an opportunity to answer questions and deal with any objections the viewers have. We like to make sure that the whole presentation is about an hour long, at least till the offer part, because a lot of people will just schedule an hour and they're going to leave after the hour. So it's good if you fit this whole thing into an hour. I recommend 5 minutes for the capture attention part, 1 minute for the attacher part, 25 to 30 minutes of presentation, 1 minute for transition, 50 minutes for the offer, and 10 to 15 minutes of Q&A. That should be within an hour, or you'll go slightly about the hour. But you'll make sure from the capture attention part till the offer part is within the first hour. Maybe you'll spill a little when you get in the Q&A section. This way you'll ensure that most people stay tuned in to your offer. And a few other things we follow is that we don't call it a webinar, because one of the things that's happened is that too many people are running webinars nowadays and they just call them webinars. That's why when you see top marketers run webinars, they don't call them webinars. They call them masterclasses or workshops. So in a similar way, we either call them masterclass or workshop, or we come up with new names. Because if you look at webinars, their peak was in the 2016 to 2019. When it was easy to sell with webinars, where everybody wanted to see webinars because they were so popular. But nowadays, everyone is doing it. That's one of the reasons why we use this framework, because we want to make sure that our entire webinar framework and our presentation framework are different and stronger than everything else out there. Another thing we do is we pick an advanced topic for the webinar. An advanced topic helps us attract more advanced users than beginners. Beginners usually don't have the budget to buy your product. They'll be more interested in a low ticket product or a book. So if you create webinar content for beginners, fewer people will buy. But when you make content on a more advanced topic, then you're attracting viewers who are a bit more advanced in the subject, and they've usually achieved something. So they have more funds to invest in your products. My client presented the webinar with this framework. Out of the 55 to 61 people, 37 people attended the live presentation, which is about 60% of the people who registered, which is a very good number, because normally only about 30 to 40% attend the live event. So this was good. One more thing to remember is most people won't buy during the live presentation. Most people will buy towards the end when you're sending that last email where the funnel is closing. This could be because if you have a coaching program, it's because you have a cohort that's starting and people can't join. If you have a course, it could be because the course is only open for a certain time, or you have some specific bonuses that are only available for a limited time. There are so many ways you can think of creating a deadline for them to join. After the webinar ended, we created a landing page where we placed the recording, and we sent 7 post-webinar emails. The main things we did in these emails were we reminded them about that the recording was up if they haven't watched it yet. And then we addressed the objections. Remember, over here we had the Q&A section where people asked questions about the presentation. So we took some of the objections they had and we wrote post-webinar emails where we handled those objections. You're more likely to convert people if they watch the webinar. So that was one of the goals. And the first 2 emails, that's all we focused on. If they haven't watched the live event or if they want to rewatch it, here it is, make sure you watch it. And the other thing is handling the objections before they arise. They arise for some people who watched the live one, but before they arise for other people, we wanted to address them. So that's what we did here. And another thing we did was we sent them directly to a checkout page. Many people made the mistake of sending people to a sales page where they can learn about the course, but because you have a webinar, there's no use getting them to go through a sales page where they can learn more about the offer and everything such present, because they get that information from the webinar itself. So we don't like to use a sales page for this. We send them directly to a checkout page where they can buy the product. Some of you might be wondering, is sending 7 post-webinar emails necessary? I think it's necessary because most people will buy through those emails, and especially towards the last few emails. And this is exactly what happened with this client. We got most sales in those last 2 emails when the cohort doors were closing. But another thing you can take advantage of is the engagement rate. As you can see, the stats for this email, he was getting high open rates. When we email his whole list, he was just getting 10 to 15% open rates. But after the webinar where we were emailing people who signed up for the webinar, you can see he was getting an open rate of 64% plus and a click rate of 17.9%. And what this does is when you keep emailing these people, Google and your email service provider keep noticing this high open rate and click rate. It improves your domain health. And email service providers and email platforms realize that, hey, people want to engage with this person's content. So later when you email the whole list, your open rates will improve. So this is one of the reasons why we like to send as many emails as we can after the webinar. So here are the results. It took us 14 days. We set up the squeeze page and informed his list and social media followers over the webinar, where we promoted the webinar for 7 days. And then after we presented the webinar on the 7th day, we waited another 7 days for the cart to close. And in that time, we generated $12,000 in coaching program sales and $1,500 in course sales, bringing the total to $13,500. My initial plan was to not have any course sales. I just wanted to focus on coaching, but there were some people who were emailing my client and asking him if there's a course version of the program, because they either didn't have the budget for a coaching program or the time. And my client decided that, you know what, I'm going to give you the course and I'll give you a first person discount because of this. And we ended up selling the course version of the program to a few people, because for my client, it's not much work, because people who attend the coaching program get a recorded version of the program. So he decided that he's going to give the recording to these people too, and they were fine waiting for 2 months before it was out. So we got some advanced sales for the course. In total, we made $30,500. But we're not going to stop there. Here are some more steps we're going to take in the future for our client. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to use the data from the responses we got via email and social media and the questions asked during the webinar to improve the offer and handle objections before people raise them. We're going to do this through the webinar and through the pre-webinar emails we send, and we're going to get testimonials and increase the rate of the program. After our client presents the coaching program, he's going to get testimonials, and we're going to use these testimonials to increase the rate. And we're also going to improve the webinar's content around this offer based on the data. And we're going to improve the email open rate to 50% or more. As I mentioned, only 9 to 14% of people were opening the emails. We found that a lot of his emails were going to spam and the promo tab. So we're going to work on his tech and copy to improve that open rate to 50%, because then 5 times more people will see his offer at his webinar and we can get more signups. And we're going to launch another live webinar to the same audience organically, both his email list and social media followers. And I know that we're going to make between $15,000 to $20,000 easily with an improved offer and webinar. And then after the second live presentation, we're going to improve the offer and webinar even more and we're going to launch our Facebook ads and begin promoting our webinar funnel. We'll start with a live webinar funnel through which we'll sell both the course version and the coaching program. And if you're happy with the numbers, we're going to convert that to an evergreen webinar funnel to which we're going to promote the course. And at the same time, we're going to create a fast funnel for busy people with less time, because one of the problems with webinars is that people who are very busy don't want to sit through an hour watching a webinar. They have the money, but they don't have the time. So these people are usually quick buyers. They just want to see the offer and buy. So one of the things we'll do is we'll create a fast funnel where we take some of the content of the webinar and publish them directly on social media, especially on channels like Facebook and YouTube. And we're going to promote the offer directly on the social platform and convert them to sales via Facebook Messenger. Are you interested in working with me? Do you want me to help you set up and promote a webinar funnel with my own unique frameworks? This works very well for anyone who wants to sell a coaching program or a course or a service that costs $500 or more, and you have at least 10,000 followers, or an email list with at least 1,000 subscribers, or an ad budget of $5,000 per month. You can message me or comment below and I'll get back to you with more details.